Hi everyone, you're welcome to another sewing tutorial. Today we'll be learning how to make a simple straight skirt. So I'm going to teach you. You now know the measurements to take away from your hip to get your knee and how to get your sitting allowance at the back. So let's get started. Like you all know, I always like getting my first line of 1/2 inch or 1 inch. That's just so that I can start my measurement from there. So let me roll the 1/2 inch. Yeah, this is it. The hip length is 8.5. Yeah, so I'll use hip length of 8.5. Most people, their hip lengths are usually 9 or 10. Then your knee length, mostly you can do 18 or 19 inches. For someone that is tall, you can do 19. For someone that is a little bit that is not tall, you can do 18 inches as the hip length. Then you rule your line. Then from the hip length, you can now get the length of the client. I think for this tutorial, because of my camera angle, let me use 34 as the full length so that everybody can see it. 34, then you cannot add whatever seam allowance you want to add. It could be 2 inches seam or 1 inch allowance. I think I'm going to do 1 inch seam allowance. Yeah. So now that we have our lines already, what we'll now do now is to impute the circumference. So this, I have a waist here of 32. So 32 divided by 4 is 8 inches. Let me add 1 inch seam allowance. Then I have a hip of 40 plus 1 inch seam allowance. So how to calculate the knee measurement is what we are going to do now. There's a formula for it. So whatever you have on the client's hip, after measuring her hip, whatever you get, you will minus 6 inches from it. That is how you get your knee measurement. But that is like, you know, those celebrities you see, their clothes is always fitted, like the knee is small and, you know, things like that. But if you know that your clients have a big leg, like their leg is big, and or they complain to you that they don't have a car, they cannot walk properly, or they cannot climb a bike, then you can now minus 5 or 4 inches. But the main measurement you're supposed to do is to minus 6 inches from your hip. So if you have to take 6 inches from this hip of 40, that would be like 34 inches. So 34 divided by 4 equals to 8.5. So 8.5 is now what I am going to use on the knee measurement here. Plus 1 inch seam allowance. So what you will now do is, if you are making a straight skirt, whatever you have here total, that's 9.5. You will now input the same 9.5 at the end here. That's the end of your skirt. Now the waist to the hip. The waist to the hip. From the hip now to the knee. Yeah, are you guys seeing it? Then you now take from here, because we are making a straight gown, a straight skirt, it has to now be like this. So can you see? So now we are now going to cut. The 1/2 inch I have up here, I'm going to leave it. That's what I'm going to use to sew It's either I'm adding a band to it, or maybe I'm attaching it to my gown. I'll use that 1/2 inch to sew it. So now guys, here we have our front pattern. So now we now have to draft the back. So just connect your lines from your hip. Okay, so guys, I had to turn the paper like this so that you can see what I'm going to do at this back, because this back is very, 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 very important. So now we already have our lines. This is the waist line, this is the hip line, this is the knee line. So now what we're not going to do now is let's add our zip allowance. So on the waistline, let's use 0.75. 1 inch is fine for your hip, but because my paper is not big enough, so I'm going to use 0.75 there. Then on this place, for sitting allowance, I'm going to use 1.5. For sitting allowance at the back, because our back is bigger than our front on our hip side, like our butt, it is bigger than our front. So if you do not do it like that, there's no room for that back to sit. There's no room. So this is how you get your butt allowance. If the person hip is like maybe 44, 46, 48 and above, you can use 2 inches. Let me use 1 inch so that you can understand better. So let's use 1 inch for on this place, and here 1.5 on this place. So what you will now do is to connect the 1.5 to the 1 inch you took here. Can you see? Then now on this hip line, there's what we call under butt. There's what we call under butt. So on this hip line, you will now come down by 4.5 to 5 inches or 5.5. You can do 4 inches, 4.5, 5 inches, 5.5. The highest should be the 5.5, depending on how big the person's butt is. So let me do 4.5. 4.5. Then I'll connect the lines here. I'll connect it. So this is now how to get your under butt. Now you're going to connect from this hip line here, this 1.5 here, to this place. There's no alarm. You're not bringing anything out here. You're not putting anything here. So you just connect it to where the back measurement stop. This place. You're taking it here. So this is how to get your sitting allowance for your back, for your butt. So this is how to get your sitting allowance. Now, we don't have any zip allowance on this place. So just take it straight down. Do you get? Take it straight down like this. Trust me, I've tried this countless, number of time. My fashion school, this is what we do. We don't used to put any zip allowance, like maybe any zip allowance on this place. And this has always been perfect. Like perfect, no issue at all. So this is how to get your back, your butt, your sitting allowance. So just take it straight down, cut exact paper. Then I'll now tell you how to now get your zip allowance all the way down. Maybe your slit, maybe you want to open it like your slit, or you want to close it. This is what you're not going to do. So now let me cut. Okay, on this back side, you can see that I am cutting exactly the same thing as the back. So when you get to this place like this, then you can now start going like this. Oh, my paper is cutting. Okay, so now this is it for the back. This is how to cut your back. If you remember, we have 1-inch zip allowance here. This is it. This is the 1-inch zip allowance. So now you remove this one, remove the front one from the back. Then you maintain the same 1-inch all the way down. Maintain the same 1-inch like this all the way down. Okay, so you connect them together. You can use your free hand. If you cannot use your free hand, please use a curve ruler. So are you guys seeing it? Automatically now this becomes your zip allowance. I'm telling you, by the time you try this process, your butt is going to sit properly. Your nail will, as in everything will just blend properly. Like it will so fit your back. Like all the shape at your back is going to come outside. So now, this is now your zip allowance. So you're going to sew on this place. This now becomes your zip allowance. So this is how to draft a basic skirt pattern. Now we are done with this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.